I spent the past 30 days learning Blender, a free 3D software, in hopes to help with my terrible drawing skills. Now, we all know drawing backgrounds kinda suck. I just want to draw my cute waifus, slap them on a pretty background, post it, and get thousands of likes. Which is why I always wanted to learn 3D as a 2D artist, especially for drawing backgrounds that are a little more complex and things that involve heavy perspective. And with the growing trend of integrating 3D softwares into the 2D illustration workflow, I felt compelled to join in. No, it's not cheating.
I just wanted to expand my skill set.
Anyways, I made this awesome ruined music store in the end using everything I learned along the way. The donut. Whoa, what is this? So many panels. Okay, so middle mouse button to move. Just like everyone else, I started off with the donut. The tutorial itself is pretty straightforward. You just follow the steps and learn how to do things in the software. Pretty chill and honestly a breeze. That is until I got to geometry nodes. You see, geometry nodes is kind of like programming. It uses logic and functions to allow you to model things instead of doing them by hand. It started off fairly simple, but at some point it just gone way out of hand for a noob like me. So naturally, me as a stinky brain artist was having a hard time following. Like, what's the difference between instances on point and instances to point?
There's two here that I always get them confused. Instances on point or instances to points. Okay. I don't want to use the keyframes because it's all moving independently as one. Instead, I want to use math.
I have to do math? I did not sign up for this. Not to mention, I accidentally crashed my PC several times while working on it. But eventually, I got it figured out, finished the rest of the tutorial without any problems, and ended up with this sweet looking donut. After smashing the donut, I went on and did a few other tutorials. I did the anvil and some beginner drills by Grand Abbitt. These were nice for refreshers, and I also learned a few things that weren't in the donut tutorial. And then the time comes for me to face my biggest weakness. Nodes. I did quite a few tutorials by Carlino and Ducky3D. They helped me a lot in understanding the basic fundamentals of GeoNode. I got familiar with the commonly used nodes and are able to make simple things like scattering things on objects, which will come in handy later on. I also did some basic destruction simulations. They're pretty fun, and I get a kick every time I get to bully the default queue. When it comes to the texture nodes, I feel like they're a lot simpler compared to GeoNodes. The great thing is you can also save the textures you made into your asset browser and just drag and drop next time when you need it, which is honestly genius. I followed a bunch of tutorials by this guy.
In this tutorial, in this tutorial, in this tutorial, in this tutorial, in this Blender tutorial.
And I learned how to make a few basic textures that you can just find everywhere. I felt confident after doing all these tutorials, and I think I have everything I need to tackle the final project. We're in the home stretch, baby. So here's the story. Once, there was an angel named Irys. She was loved by many of her angel friends for she has a beautiful voice. But one day, Irys angered God and has since been banished for committing indecent acts. She was casted out from the sky and crashes into this music store through the ceiling. Simple. There are 3 key components to this project. Music related assets, the hole in the ceiling,
Irys.
This is the final boss and you'll see why later on, and rubble. So I started off making a basic room. I gradually added structural details into the base with things like railings, the center stage, and these wall bits. Now, time is money. I could go ahead and spend my precious youth modeling each and every one of the objects in my scene, or I can just use free resources online like BlenderKit. Same thing with the textures. I actually saved all of the textures I made in the previous tutorials and used some of them in the scene, just like this concrete texture. First one checked. Easy peasy. But just when I thought things are going along smoothly, this happened. So I tried to use physics simulations to make the hole in the ceiling. I know, fancy. Since I imagined Irys to kind of crash down through the ceiling, I figured using a simulation would give me a more realistic result, which is why I learned it earlier in the training phase. But here's the problem. I watched a few destruction simulation tutorials, and while they're cool on their own, I didn't really know how to apply them into my own models. And apparently they only work well on basic forms like cubes. Anyway, I spent a long time trying to make it work, and it just wasn't working. So I finally decided that I should just give up and use geonodes instead. So that's what I did. Using geonodes, I scattered little rocks and wood pieces around the floor, and I placed some bigger pieces of broken concrete rubble around. It's more manual work and not as sexy as using simulations, but hey, it gets the job done. With the ceiling hole done, it's just the rubble left, which is fairly simple. I modeled and sculpted the big pieces myself and used a rock generator to make the smaller one. The rest is just detailing. I added some lights to spruce things up. I also used this cool cable generator by Carlino for the hanging wires, did some animating, crashed the program a few more times, and after hours and hours of fixing and adding details, I can finally say that I'm done. I hope you enjoyed the video. In the next video, I'll be making an illustration using this very render that we created. I will be painting in our lovely Irys and adding more life into the scene. So if you want to watch that video, remember to hit subscribe and like the video. Bye!